Welcome back, friends. Today's video, we are going to look at what is called a transformation. And transformations are divided into three parts: translations, reflections, and rotations. And really all we're going to do is figure out, when we look at a shape or a figure that has been moved, how did we move it? Did we slide it over? That would be a translation. Did we turn it or spin it? That would be a rotation. Or did we flip it over a line of reflection? So the three words there again: translation, which means to slide; reflection, which means to flip it over; or rotation means to turn or to spin. It's important to note right now that transformations do not change size. Both images are what we would consider congruent. They are the exact same shape. We've just moved them somewhere else. So let's take a look at each one individually. A translation. Again, a translation is just a slide. We're just moving it over. So I look here, I have a nice little quadrilateral, and you can see it's been slid over to the right. And we're going to take a look at the next three and determine, how are these being moved? Are they a slide or not? So here I have a triangle. Can this blue triangle slide over and look just like this red triangle? Yeah, that's a slide. That's fine. Those are the exact same triangle. I look here. Again, this looks like a square. Could I slide one of these? Would this be a slide? Is this the exact same? No, this is not. This is definitely not, because it changes size. And again, transformations cannot change size. So because it changes size, this is not a slide. And I have here another, these look like parallelograms. If I take this parallelogram, could I slide it down and it look just like this? No, that's not the same. Look at that. If I was to slide this down, it would be working this way. And so this is not a slide either, because this looks like I have actually flipped it over. This is a flip. So the only slide I had here was right here. Again, the triangle has to look exactly the same, or whatever figure you've been given, exactly the same. We're just sliding it over, and we can slide it in any direction, left to right, up and down. You can even do, if you needed to, you could go in a diagonal. So one more translation. If this was my given translation here on the left, would A, B, or C be a possible slide? Pause the video and think about it, and then come back. All right, welcome back. So here we go. If I was here, if I slid it over, could it look just like this? Well, that's the exact same. I'm looking here, same size. I think the A does look like a slide, but let's double check B and C. Does B look exactly like the given quadrilateral? No, it does not. If you notice here, the slanted side here is on the bottom, and over here it's on the side. That tells me that this has probably been spun around. So it cannot be B. Now looking at C, nope, again, not a slide, because they have to line up, and these do not line up, so it is definitely not C. So the answer here would be A. So what's up next? We had a translation, a slide. Up next, we're going to look at a reflection. So in a reflection, we have a flip. Just think about it as looking in a mirror. I also like to think about these when I'm looking at them on paper as like a butterfly. So my line of reflection here is this little black line. And what we're doing is we're taking and we're flipping this image from one side to the other. Now, if you think about it as a butterfly, if you were to fold this page in half right along the line of reflection, the wings would line up perfectly if you fold it in half. They would be exactly the same. If you also can look at it this way, each point, so from here to the line of reflection, is the exact same distance as the line of reflection to the reflected or the image. And that would go all the way for every single one. We could look at each coordinate and the flip, and they would always be the same distance away from the line of reflection. So here again on the right, I have 3 examples. So let's look at each one and determine if it is a flip or a reflection, or if it's not. So I'm looking here at this. These are parallelograms. If I was to take this top parallelogram and flip it over, would it line up perfectly? So if you wanted to kind of tilt your head and think about a butterfly, if I took this page and I folded it in half, would they line up? Are my points equidistant from the line of reflection? So from here to here, is that the same as from here to here? Looks like it. And this would be the same. So what about here? If I will look at the other side, my coordinate here, is it the same distance from one figure to the line of reflection as the other? And that would be yes. So yes, this is a flip. This has flipped over. What about the next one? Those look like the exact same, don't they? But I don't think that's a flip, because if I think about it, here's my point here, and from here to here, well, that would mean that that point would need to be over here. So if you notice, they didn't flip this over, they actually slid it over. Remember, a slide is a translation. So this is not a flip. Not a flip, this is a slide. And I have one more, and you notice here my line of reflection isn't just up and down or side to side. A line of reflection can be anywhere. I just need to determine, if I folded that in half, would these two line up? Is this top mirrored into the bottom image over that line of reflection? So I could just quickly take a look at my points to say, okay, do they line up? Are they equidistant? And it looks like, yeah, this is a flip. So you try it. Here's your given on the left. The big picture is your given. Look at A, B, and C and determine which one of those is the flip. Okay. I know it's not A because that's a rotation. Look, that this is slid up. Okay, over here. I'm going to look at B. Oh, let me say A is not. That's definitely a reflection, not a reflection. B is the exact same. There's nothing different. It just slid over. So it's not B. C. Could I flip it over to make it look like C? Yeah, I could flip that over. If I flipped it this direction, it would land here. See the 2 long sides, and here's your short top, and then absolutely, that is a reflection. So up next, after translations and reflections, we have rotations. And rotation is all about the spin. We're going to slide it around. So we're going to move it and turn it. So be looking for, has my sides, especially if they've been given a side that has kind of that diagonal, will help you kind of determine if this is sliding around, flipping over, or turning. So I'm going to look at my first one. I have this red, I'm going to go to the blue. If I turn it, would that work? Yeah, that does work. I could turn that over. I could physically rotate that. They are the exact same size, so yes, this is a turn or a spin, so I would call this a rotation. Up next, I'm going to go from this red to this blue. If I was to spin this red, could I make it look like this blue? I'm not spinning it. You noticed all they've done is moved it over, right? They didn't do much, so no. This is not, because this is a slide. They just slid it over. They didn't actually spin it. And my last one here, if I was to spin this, my diagonal would move. You notice it doesn't, but this actually looks like, if you think about it, let's put a little magic little line of reflection through the middle. Doesn't it look like they just flipped it over? That's just a flip. So the only option we have here for a rotation is back here for the first one, the spin. So you're just looking at what is turning it. One here for you to look at. Here's your given. And you need to determine which one of these is the spin. Again, pause that video, take a look. All right, welcome back. Up first, what do you notice? What are you thinking when you see this? I need to change this diagonal. Now, first thing I notice is I know C is not a spin. C looks just like this triangle, so that's not spinning anywhere. But then I'm going to look at A and I'm going to look at B. Now, if I was to spin it, let's say I was to hold it down right here, put my finger here, and just spin this triangle, just kind of rotate it around, it would actually rotate to there, which means that that point would be here, and I'd come all the way around, so that would be the long side, would be like this. Yeah, check that out. I think so. That would come here. This part would be here. Oh, that looks like A, doesn't it? If you think about, okay, if I just kind of rotated it, yeah, that would be A. And if you're thinking, why not B? If I was to rotate this or lay it down flat, it would actually face the other direction. So it's not B, it's A. So let's put it all together. We're just going to determine, how do I move from shape 1 to shape 2 to shape 3? So if I'm at 1 and I need to get to 2, did I slide it, flip it, or spin it? From 1 to 2. Those are the exact same, right? Look at that. Yeah, all I did was slide it over there. So from 1 to 2 is a slide. Now, when we go to put this from 1 to 2, we don't write the word slide. That's how our brain thinks about it. But a slide is a translation. So we'd actually need to write out translation. Now, how do I get from 2 to 3? I can't just slide that over. It doesn't look like a rotation. It looks like if I folded those in half, I'd have a perfect little butterfly. So from 2 to 3, that's a flip. Now again, what is a flip? Flips are reflections that are mirrors. So I would say that that is a reflection. All right, one more. We have from 1 to 2. How can I get from here to here? Well, if I just slit it, wouldn't work because all my diagonals are off. So I know I'm not sliding it. I need to determine, am I going to rotate it or am I going to flip it? If I tried to flip this over, that doesn't look like a flip. But what if I took these points? What would happen if I just kind of slid them using a turn? But can I turn them over here? And can I turn it to where if I turn this angle, they would all line up? I think so. Yeah, and we just pivot around this point. That is definitely a spin. Okay, so from 1 to 2, we don't call it a spin, we call it a rotation. We're rotating it around a point. And now I need to get from 2 to 3. So can I take 2 and slide it over here and it looked the exact same? No, if I slid it over here, it would be actually the other. Oh, I see now. See how that's flipped? That's a flip. So like my line of reflection is somewhere here in the middle of my page, and they just flipped the whole thing over. So from 2 to 3, they flipped it. Now that means that I would write it as not a flip, but a reflection. So today we're talking about rigid transformations. Our size never changes. We're trying to figure out, is this picture, have we slid it over, just changed, pushed it one way or the other? Did we rotate it? Did we spin it around? Or did we reflect it? Did we look in a mirror or use our butterfly?